The animal kingdom. There are two big groups of animals. We've got vertebrate animals and invertebrate animals. Let's start by the vertebrates. We know 5 groups of vertebrates: mammals, birds, fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Mammals give birth and they drink their mother's milk. They are viviparous. Their body is covered with fur. They breathe using the lungs and they can live almost everywhere. Mammals can be carnivores, herbivores, or omnivores. Reptiles are oviparous. They lay eggs. Their body is covered with scales. They breathe using the lungs, and they can live in different environments. They can be similar to fish. Fish are oviparous animals. They lay eggs. Their body is covered with scales. They do not have lungs. They breathe using the gills. They are cold-blooded and they live in water. Birds are oviparous animals. They lay eggs. Their body is covered with feathers. They have beak and wings. They breathe using the lungs and they can live everywhere. Most birds can fly. Amphibians. Amphibians are oviparous animals. They lay eggs. They have bare skin. And when it comes to breathing, they are very special. When they are young, they breathe using gills. And when they are adult, they breathe using lungs. Amphibians are very special animals. They can live in water and on land. Invertebrate animals. Invertebrate animals are animals without a backbone. The first group is annelids or worms. They have very simple nervous system and 2 body openings. The next group are cnidarians. Cnidarians have tentacles with stinging cells, and they live in water. Jellyfish, corals, and anemones are examples of cnidarians. Echinoderms. Starfish and sea urchins are examples of echinoderms. Sometimes the body of echinoderms is divided into 5 parts, and they are covered in spikes or spines. They have an external skeleton. Mollusks. Snails, squids, octopus, clams, and mussels are examples of mollusks. They have a soft body that they cover with an external or internal shell that they use to protect. They have a foot or tentacles. Porifera or sponges. Sponges have no body openings. They have no muscles, no nerves, and no organs. They are very simple organisms and they live in water. Their body is full of pores. And the final group is arthropods. The final group is arthropods. Most of invertebrate animals in the world belong to this group. There are 4 different groups of arthropods: arachnids, crustaceans, insects, and myriapods, and they all have some characteristics in common. First of all arthropods have an external skeleton called exoskeleton that they use to protect from predators. And the body of arthropods is divided into articulated segments. The spider and the scorpion are examples of arachnids. Arachnids have 2 body segments and 4 pairs of legs, that is, 8 legs. Arachnids are the only arthropods that have no antennae. Crustaceans, the lobster, the prawn, and the crab are examples of crustaceans. Crustaceans have 2 antennae and 5 pairs of articulated legs, that is, 10 legs. Insects. Insects have 2 antennae, 3 body segments, head, thorax, and abdomen, and 3 pairs of legs, that is, 6 legs. They have 2 pairs of wings. Myriapods. The centipede and the millipede are examples of myriapods. Myriapods have many body segments and many body parts. Here we can see a graphic of all animals in the world. Do you notice how many insects there are? We studied the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, but plants and animals normally live together. Here we have 4 different concepts that we need to learn: population, community, habitat, and ecosystem. Population. Living things of the same species are called population. Plants or animals. For example, we can find a population of lilies and a population of wolves. Community. All different populations that live together create a community. Habitat. Habitat is the place where a community lives. Non-living things. An ecosystem or biomes is the combination of the habitat and the community. I mean, the combination of living things and non-living things that are together. Now we are going to study different types of ecosystems. For example, the tropical rainforest, the Arctic tundra, the taiga, the desert, the grassland, or the temperate forest. Here we have the characteristics that are going to be explained afterwards. Now you can press pause and study these ecosystems. The tropical rainforest. Most of the tropical rainforests are located in South America and Asia. It rains a lot in tropical rainforests. The climate is very wet. It is hot and humid all over the year. The animals that we can find in the tropical rainforests are snakes, crocodiles, monkeys, jaguars, piranhas, poisonous frogs, toucans, and bats, for example. 66% of plants in the world live in the tropical rainforests. Lianas and orchids are some examples of plants living in the tropical rainforests. The Arctic tundra. The Arctic tundra is located in Russia and Alaska. It doesn't rain a lot in the Arctic tundra, but because it's very cold, the ground is frozen. During the months of summer that are very short, this frozen ground melts, and from there they get the water. The animals that live in the Arctic tundra are the Arctic wolf, the polar bear, the snowy owl, and reindeers. Some plants that we can find are mosses and cotton. Yes, cotton. The desert. Most deserts are located in Africa and Asia. The biggest desert in the world is the Sahara in Africa. As we can imagine, it does not rain a lot in deserts. It barely rains. The climate in the desert is very dry. During the day, it's very hot in deserts, but the nights are very cold. Camels, squirrels, scorpions, snakes, and hares are some examples of animals that live in the desert, and cactus and rock plants are some of the vegetation that we can find over there. When it comes to grasslands, we are going to study the African savanna. The climate in the African savanna is quite dry. It has two seasons. Dry season that it's very long, and a short wet season when it rains like in tropical weathers. But it's very hot all over the year. The animals that we can find in the African savanna are rhinos, giraffes, lions, zebras, monkeys, etc. And one of the most famous plants that we can see is the acacia tree. Temperate forests. Most of the temperate forests are located in Europe. The climate there is a cold winter and a hot summer with medium precipitation. The animals that we can find in the temperate forests are bears, foxes, deers, hawks, raccoons, insects, and turtles. When it comes to plants, we find willows, oaks, and ferns. Willow trees, oak trees, and ferns. Oceans are located all over the world. They cover 70% of the Earth's surface. There are five big oceans in the world: the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Antarctic Ocean. Oceans are saltwater ecosystems. There are many different animals in the ocean. When it comes to mammals, we find dolphins and killer whales, but we also have fish like the shark and mollusks like the octopus and the squid, cnidarians like the jellyfish, the corals, echinoderms like sea urchin and starfish, etc. The plants that we can find in the oceans are mainly seaweed and seagrass. Rivers are freshwater ecosystems. They are located all over the world. The Amazon River in America and the Nile River in Africa are the longest rivers in the world. Some animals that we can find are ducks, frogs, alligators, trouts, saltworms, turtles, and otters. When it comes to plants, we can find mosses in the rocks, water lily, rush, and other floating plants.